Hello, ladies and lords, and welcome travelers. It's me, Miriam. Early this March, I went to Reading to attend the Reading Anime Convention. This was a 2-day event that took place at the Wind River Casino. When making this video, I wanted to share my experience in a more vlog style, but I think it would be more beneficial to present the ins and out of planning for a convention to my fellow authors and artist allies. Even if some of you have some experience, you might learn something new from this video, especially if you haven't had much success, or if you felt like going to these conventions was a waste of time and money. Because it can be. So what was my experience like? It has been a while since I last been a vendor for a convention, so I felt a little rusty, and based off my experience, I wasn't expecting to make a lot, if any book sales. What I did want was to give out my business cards, I wanted to network, and I wanted to reveal the release of my webcomic CD901. But that doesn't mean that I wasn't going to switch up my game. I definitely put a big emphasis on how I presented my table. And I feel like this was the turning point to how things ended with the con for me. For Children of Rima, the entire trilogy, I ordered 10 copies of Book 1, Seeds of the Fallen. I ordered 5 copies of Book 2, Maidens of Darkness, and 5 copies of Book 3, Demon of the Deep. For Dragon and Mirrors, I did the same, but because the book is longer, a little bit longer, I ordered 10 copies of Book 1, The Hunted Prince, 3 copies of The Grey Hair Princess, 3 copies of The Black Hat, and 3 copies of The Queen's Wrath. I also purchased a prequel for those who wanted to buy The Hunted Prince or the trilogy. It was going to be like a free giveaway. You might be saying, Miriam, that's not a lot of books. It is to me. It is to me when you find out how many I sold. The reason why I order less of the books 2, 3, and 4 is because you can't expect people to buy your entire series on a whim. It's a big chance they're taking on you, but they are likely to buy your book 1, which is why I ordered more of book 1. It just makes more sense in my mind. You gotta see it through the eyes of a guest going up to your table, not you thinking that everyone is just going to fall head over heels over your book and beg to buy the entire series. They're going to be curious of your book, and I think it's a good thing. I mean, it's natural, right? You know, us writers, we're not for everybody. So some people are really going to enjoy your story, some of them are not. So, and honestly, the books that I ordered, that was a total of what? I was about 40 books that I ordered total. Let me do the math. Hold on, give me a second. So that was about 40, almost 50 books if you include the prequels and all that jazz. And this was perfect for me because, again, I had a budget. So here's my experience for day 1 at the Reading Anime Convention. Turns out that people did take a chance on me. I was able to sell the trilogy of Children of Rima to 3 times, and everyone else was interested in just taking a chance on me and checking out book 1, which by the beginning of day 2, I only had 1 book left of Children of Rima, and I believe I sold 1 copy of The Hunted Prince. Now, before you say 1 copy of Dragon and Mirrors, Miriam, what's going on? Are you having a book cover issue? I don't think personally I have a book cover issue. I love my book covers. I love the artwork that I did, the time I spent on it, but I also am aware that maybe as pretty as the cover is to me, I think I need to do something else with it. So in the future, I will be changing the covers of my entire Dragon and Mirror series, and I'm kind of excited for it, but I'm kind of dreading over it. Okay, so for day 2, again, I had only 1 book of Children of Rima, but my neighbor Haley called dibs on it just minutes in when she made the purchase. So shout out to you, Haley. So this left me with books 2 and 3, and I was already about 30 minutes in when I started to notice that although I still gathered the same interest in my books, I wasn't making sales. Nobody was going to buy book 2 and 3 without book 1. I mean, duh, right? So I had to move my product around. I moved my Dragon and Mirror series to the box tier where I had that set up, and I grabbed the Children of Rima books and I put them where my Dragon and Mirrors books were sitting. And guess what? I made more sales. So for the rest of day 2, I sold 5 books of the 100 Prince and 1 of the entire series. I did inform to my guests that I didn't have book 4 on my person because Amazon, for some weird reason, delayed it. But I promised her that if she still purchases it with me, I can mail it to her. So I got her address, I gave her a discount, and I promised her that I was going to send her goodies once I get the book. So if you guys run into that problem at your convention, be open to letting them know, hey, I can also deliver it to you as soon as I get home if you have copies and whatnot. By day 2, I was already happy with my sales. I'm just going to be honest. As soon as I started, I was like, oh wow, I sold these many books. Cool. I'm pretty livid. But I also don't know if this was all luck, as it could be, or if I had done something differently this year that I had in the past years. I believe it's the latter because it's easier to see the difference when it's a 2-day event versus just going to one. Later in this video, though, I will talk about the setup that I believed not only helped sell my Children of Rima series, but also my Dragon and Mirrors. Like this video or comment if you have any questions for me. Please consider that if this is your first con, you're likely going to start out with a loss in terms of profit. You might not make back what it took to buy your spot for the convention or the money that you spent for your setup. That's why going to these cons sometimes aren't worth it. It makes more sense to sell everything online and not deal with people. But if you decide to go to one, pricing and locations are important factors to consider because this can dig a hole into your coin purse. For location, you might have to do some advanced planning, especially when it comes to requesting days off for work, arranging for a babysitter if you have children. I recommend comparing prices firsthand, the dates, and always making these plans before committing to a convention. Most of the time, the best way you guys can apply for these conventions is by going directly to their website. Most likely you'll find these events at Facebook, but they should have a website for you to apply. Sometimes you have to DM them. And the application could be really self-explanatory. They just want for your information, your business name, what kind of setup, booth you're going to have, the pricing that it's going to be. Another thing that they do ask is what you're going to be selling, and make sure you make that as interesting as possible. Don't just say books and then period and then just like leave it at that. Hey, I'm selling high fantasy books that have this, something that relates at least to some degree to their convention. I write science fiction and it takes place, it's YA, so I write murder mystery. Just be aware that if you are going to these conventions, most of them are kid friendly. So if you write some of that steamy stuff, obviously you're going to have like some warnings. I'm pretty sure, hopefully, if you have like that heavy spice. But if you have like those naked dudes or those, I forgot what they're called, like those 6-pack delicious looking men that are just almost naked in your cover, I probably would not sell those. And I would talk to them about what you can do if you can sell them. Be aware that these spots may be filled quickly, so don't take your time as well. So I know I'm telling you, hey, plan ahead, but also don't take your time. There is one thing that you can do that I learned from author N.J. Hansen is I went to this one convention that he didn't go to, but I ended up seeing him there. And he told me that he just called them up and said, hey, did anyone not show up? And he basically got a spot then and there. Shout out to you, N.J. Hansen, because I would not have gone to the Reading anime convention if he hadn't let me know. So thank you. So, we're covering pricing, location, and the cost of the setup. Everyone's goal in this convention is to stand out. And if you've gone to these before, it's about improving your setup from your previous events. And that was initially my goal, while considering, again, my budget. If you're wondering, Miriam, why are you going to an anime and Comic-Con if you yourself are not in these niche? I'd say to that, ¿por qué no? Why not? Anime and Comic-Cons are in a way merge, and I know that some would like for there to be for them to be separate, where it's just only comics. Wait, is that me? And the same could be said for the anime, but that is not entirely true. You will find comic vendors and anime cons, and you will see anime, especially anime cosplayers, and comic cons. I think what merges these are not just the fact that these people who are hosting it want to fill up, the tables, but that you find a lot of artist alleys in there. And in a way, we bring these two together with our fan art, with our unique style, and what we have to offer. And my experience with these cons is that they're also kid-friendly and outright a fun experience. Everyone is there to have a good time. And if you write YA, you're likely going to have a good time reaching a good audience. Okay, authors. We both know that a book con is more ideal for you because you're then expecting an influx of readers. There aren't many book cons in my area, and I don't think they're as hyped as the others in terms of like advertising them and getting to see where they're at. But that's not to say that the anime and comic cons are ideal or you have to go to these. There always comes a risk as well, and that is selling a product that perhaps nobody wants to buy. But the same can be said at all conventions. Bad days exist. So that's it for part 1. In part 2, we will cover if even doing the conventions are worth it. We're going to talk about your personality, yes, yours, and the surviving part of the convention, and much more. So stay tuned. If you have any questions, feel free to comment. Make sure you like my video. I mostly do art and talk about my books in this channel, but now and then I will post videos to help fellow creatives. Until then, safe travels.